Kombuchat.
What's up, combies? It's Hannah.
And Olivia.
And it's time
to Kombuchat.
All right. So, how's the week been?
Productive. Very productive. I have been setting little goals for myself every day to get things done, and that checking them off just satisfies me.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, I'm a checker for sure.
I'm a checker too. And this kind of, honestly, segues rather organically. I'm impressed with us into this episode's topic.
New Year's resolutions.
Yeah, baby.
We all make them. We can't all keep them.
No. So, Olivia and I tend to do a little pre-episode research, and when it came to this, one snippet of info I found is around 8% of people actually keep their New Year's resolution.
8?
That was one of the lower ones I found.
Oh my gosh, that is really low. Whoa.
Yeah, you know, some articles were like in the 20s. So that was about as high as I saw.
Okay.
8 was definitely the low end.
Wow.
Theory.
Yeah, that's single digits. You know it's hard then. It's true.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we're going to be talking about in this episode. Resolutions. Do you have any? If you don't, it's okay. We're going to talk about that too. Mm-hmm. If you do have them, how do you keep them? And more. So let's go ahead and dive into it.
Let's dive into it. Okay, I have a little history for us first. Yes, so I was reading up on the History Channel about New Year's resolutions, and it said that the ancient Babylonians were the first people to make promises that we could consider New Year's resolutions. So it would be promises loyalty to a new or reigning king, promises to the gods to pay debts, and returned borrowed objects. Only theirs happened in like mid-March, so it's not the January start that we have here. And if they kept their promises, then they would be in the gods' favor and would be bestowed favorable god things. And if they didn't, then they'd be like smited pretty much. Like,
oh, whoa.
Well, like that year was not going to be good for them. The gods would be like against them.
Intense.
Yeah, and so there's a lot like between the ancient Babylonians to where we are today with New Year's resolutions, but they're kind of the first documented of that.
That's interesting because you're making them for someone else.
Right? For the gods.
Or even the king? Wasn't the
king? Promises to the king. And what were you borrowing that you need to return in mid-March?
Oh, wow. You didn't find that in there?
Borrowed items? No.
Okay. Very generic.
Do you get to just keep anything you borrow until mid-March? Like a library book is stamped. The neighbor's rake is stamped. Well, give me back that mid-March.
Okay, that really takes it back. What about personally wise? What kind of resolutions have you made in the past? Have they always been to yourself?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think sometimes I've made resolutions that end up affecting other people. But
okay, that's interesting.
But I usually feel like they've been for me. I think one year I had the resolution of like being more patient. And so in essence that would affect other people. Okay. You know?
I could see that.
But most of mine have been like, stop popping my knuckles.
Yeah, those are the kinds I made, you know, when I was like a kid or whatever. I feel like when I was a kid. Well, was this recent?
No. It was when I too was a child.
Oh, good. No, like when I was a kid, I feel like New Year's resolutions is something everybody talked about in class.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You always had to come up with one. I don't even know, honestly, why.
And usually you had to make actually a list of them, not just one.
Okay, whoa, intense.
It would never be just one. When I was growing up, it would be like, what's your list of resolutions?
Intense children.
Oh.
Yeah, was this a school thing? Honestly, I can't remember.
I could see a printout. List your New Year's resolutions.
Maybe it was.
Miss Gishbert's just passing them out. Like, oh God, again?
Oh, here's some more promises I won't keep to myself.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I remember when I was young doing ones, like that, where it's like, I'm not going to drink pop this year.
Mm-hmm.
Or that kind of thing.
I'm going to read a new Junie B. Jones book every week.
Yes.
It's like, are you? Probably not. You don't have that many.
Maybe not. Yeah, so, I don't know. When did it get more serious for you?
Honestly, probably not until recently. I would always make, like, within the last 4 to 5 years, I probably always made ones that surrounded, like, exercising more, which is, like, one of the most generic resolutions I feel like you can make. It'd be like, I'm gonna hit the gym 6 days a week. And no, I'm not. Again, it's just not happening. And so I would say within the last couple years, I probably started finding a way to form a new type of resolution for myself and actually keep it. How about for you?
I feel like I honestly have not really done one in a long time. Like, I did do some fitness-related ones.
Okay.
Like, a few years ago. Like, one year I joined 24 Hour, and I was like, oh, I need to be going, like, this many days a week to feel like I'm paying this membership and it's worth it. And so I'm going to make it my New Year's resolution. And another year I joined a yoga studio, which was more expensive every month. And I was like, oh, I need to go this many days so I feel like I'm getting use of my membership. And honestly, I did do a pretty good job sticking to those, especially the yoga one, because I really got into the practice.
Yeah.
And it became more of like I just kind of want to feel that good during my day and not so much I need to go every day. But honestly, going is really what got me into that habit. Yeah.
I feel like what we did last year was helpful. We should get into that.
We should.
Let's
so we did
share.
a whole intention setting last year.
It was amazing.
It was so fun.
It was really fun.
We did some mood lighting. If you follow me on the gram, you know I am all about a mood light setup. I just thinking about it, I love.
I'm ready.
Love for me.
And we lit candles, too. We lit candles.
We laid out crystals, if you're into that.
We were on our yoga mats, so we were, like, centered, grounded, so comfy.
Yeah, so serene. And then we did some intention setting.
We had colored pencils and construction paper. And we started by reflecting on the past year and, like, what we were grateful for, what we noticed had changed within the last year, positives and negatives.
Yep.
And then we kind of let that go. And we were like, thank you, next.
Ooh. Yes. We love an Ari reference.
Oh, we do. And then we started looking at what we wanted the next year to bring us. And collaging some ideas and images and thoughts and words together.
Yeah, and because it was a decade, I think we actually did a look back on 10 years and a look forward on 10 years too. And we're like,
yes,
the next decade, like, what kind of things do you want to see happen in your life in the next decade?
And thank God we did it that far out, because This year was not it.
Yeah, this year, I don't know how many of those we've really gotten.
I would say
2020 can suck it.
Amen.
But I remember, too, we also burned something.
Oh, we wrote down, like, our most weighing thought about ourselves or our year on a little piece of paper, and then we put it in the candle flame.
Yeah. And I, like, just finished burning that candle, like, a month ago.
It sank to the bottom of the wax, and so our worries were just sitting in this candle for a year.
And honestly, that's 2020 in a nutshell, truly.
It did not work out how we wanted.
Not at all.
But that was a helpful overall process.
It was a cool practice. Would be down to repeat.
Let's please. I am ready to reflect and leave this year behind.
So true.
So I actually got into this book.
Mm-hmm.
One of my teachers from high school ended up recommending it to me after I'd graduated, I think, and it's called My One Word by Rachel Olsen.
Okay, yes, I've heard of this.
Yeah, so basically, I just used the book as kind of a guide to form my own process, but basically you choose one word to define the year ahead of you instead of making a resolution, so that anything you want to put your mind to that year, you use that word to fuel it. So, some past words that I could remember. I know I used resilience as one. And this past year, I used action as my word.
Okay.
So sometimes the word just comes to me. I'm all about this method. Sometimes the word just comes to me. Sometimes I have to meditate on it. Sometimes I'll be reading a book and I'll see a word and I'll be like, whoa, that just kind of hit me in a new way. And so I haven't found mine yet.
Okay.
But I have it in the mind that it's going to come to me when I need it.
Ooh, wow, that's really cool. I have had friends who've mentioned that they do this and they kind of use it to mark their whole year. They kind of reflect on it pretty regularly, honestly, which is probably helpful for actually keeping it at the forefront of your thoughts for the year and kind of making it an effective resolution, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And then I feel like I can have like a flexibility that like a rigid list of resolutions sometimes doesn't happen for me.
Right.
So I like that aspect of it too.
Yeah, I like that too. I can see why it would be helpful. It also probably is just kind of cool to look back on certain years being associated with certain words. And I think you probably like landmark in your mind certain experiences maybe around those because it kind of almost becomes a theme.
Yeah, it is. It's like a theme.
For you?
Yeah, definitely.
One thing that I know came up when we were looking at this topic is the idea of temporal landmarks, which it's kind of a way that we humans look at ourselves versus a historical part of ourselves. So a lot of people do this like around their birthday. Be like, oh wow, I'm like going into the next year, looking back on the previous year. This is a temporal landmark event. So you kind of associate like what happened prior, what you maybe are hoping upcoming, that sort of thing. But it's something that people obviously do in the new year.
Definitely.
With resolutions. And some people actually even kind of take this to a month-by-month basis where they'll be like, okay, new month, new me. Forget the rest of the months previous. Here's what I'm looking to do this month, and I'm going to accomplish it. And so they almost like break it up into smaller and smaller temporal landmarks so that you can maybe achieve more in these smaller durations as opposed to tackling a huge list.
It seems less daunting, I feel like, that way. When you're like, this month, I'm going to focus on this.
Right.
Versus this year, I'm going to do all this.
Right.
So I can see that.
Yeah. So there's a couple of options. You could choose a word, use that to kind of frame different things throughout the year for yourself. You could make a list, separate those things into months, kind of choose that, okay, I'm going to tackle this month, I'm going to tackle this next month, that kind of thing. I will say, I remember from our intention setting, we also did a combination of like more serious versus more casual things. Like I remember I was like, okay, I have like X career goal, and I also want to learn to braid my hair. Like,
oh, that's so cute.
That kind of stuff, Which I didn't get that one this year.
I was like, I don't think you ever asked me to help you with that.
Yeah, you're a pro. I can't at all. I mean, obviously, look at this messy bun if you're listening, but yeah, maybe that's my 2021.
Honestly, keep it simple.
Yeah, I think it's good to kind of like break it up. Like maybe you don't need to set a huge weighty goal that's more serious every month if you're going to do this idea. You could choose something more simple. Like I want to learn how to contour or braid hair, or I want to learn how to craft this thing. Whatever it is. I think it would be a fun way, if you're going to set some intentions for the next year to break it up.
Yeah, and especially since, it's hard to only focus on like big goals that don't have results that will come quickly. Sometimes that can be discouraging, and so I feel like mixing in goals that maybe it'll only take you 2 weeks to learn how to braid hair or less, then you are kind of like, okay, I'm kind of on a roll. I can cross that one off and I can move forward to one that's a little bit more challenging or time consuming.
Right. Again, crossing off that list. That's how we do, baby.
I love it.
That is how we do.
I was going to say too, with monthly goals, isn't it something like habits form after 30 days?
Oh, yeah. We should have looked up the stats on that, but there is definitely a correlation between having and doing something for a certain period of time and then making that a more permanent part of your routine.
So I feel like that's helpful too, because you're like establishing that routine.
Right. Yep, absolutely. Okay, so any other options that you saw or read about that you want to share?
So another method that I think works just for forming good habits in general that could be applied to New Year's resolutions is the 2-day rule.
Oh, okay.
Have you heard of this?
No, I have not.
Okay. So this is where the more time you spend doing something and not skipping days, obviously the more likely you are to continue doing it and start forming that habit. So this rule is that you can never skip your goal for more than 2 days in a row.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so it's supposed to help you form it into your week without like the guilt that comes if you do miss a day or two. Then you just jump back on.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've used that with yoga to try and keep my practice up, and I feel like it's helpful.
That's cool. Yeah, I could see how that would be helpful, and I like anything that alleviates guilt or makes you feel like you're failing, that kind of helps set you up for success.
Yeah, so you aren't being hard on yourself when you're doing something to try and, better yourself.
Right. Yeah, so that brings up a few things of, so how do people walk away from this and actually set resolutions for themselves if they want to? If you don't, we obviously mentioned at the beginning, no big deal. This is really just an episode to help educate on options. Maybe you'll want to do an intention setting, but not really resolutions. Reflection is always good, so you could go that route. But if you are wanting to make some sort of resolutions or whatever you may want to call it for 2021. There's a few tips, I guess, that we have. So I think the 2-day rule is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have others?
I think it can be helpful to have an accountability partner.
Yes. Something we have talked about before, actually, on my blog. We have done that for fitness goals, and that's worked really well. So yeah, having somebody who helps you stay accountable and checks in.
Yeah, and then you don't feel alone. You feel motivated.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in general, another tip that I find helpful is thinking about it more so as a mindset. So that's one reason I could see the one word idea working really well. But
yeah,
I think it's more important to like look at it from a mindset perspective than to just have this overwhelming list of things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another tip.
Yeah, and just not being hard on yourself if you stumble along the way, just accepting that as a part of the journey and a part of the process and continuing to move forward with your goals.
Definitely. And on that note, too, I think celebrating small wins, that's something that I always talk about as being important.
Mm-hmm.
But that definitely hits hard here. So when you are achieving small goals or doing something along the word that you've chosen or having a more positive mindset or whatever it is that you've decided to do, make sure to celebrate those small wins, because that'll help keep you motivated. And it's important, especially after living through 2020, I think.
That's a big win,
Many
folks.
of us can relate.
That's a big win.
True that. Some other tips that I think are helpful, making it actionable. So making it a little more tangible for yourself instead of just creating what feels like something that could be monumental, actually saying like, well, how do I break that down into what I can actually achieve? Maybe how do I make what I can achieve into small steps? And then how do I start accomplishing those, start celebrating those as I accomplish them. And eventually, before you know it, it's kind of built up into this larger goal or whatever it is that you had in mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when you set that big goal, sometimes you forget all the steps that take you there, and it can get frustrating thinking, why am I not achieving this? Why am I not getting this? And so breaking it down like that, you got a path to follow.
Totally. And on that path, it's important that you expect there are going to be roadblocks. There are going to be things that...
Rest stops.
Maybe, rest stops where the bathrooms are not open.
Ever.
For miles.
Yeah.
And you might have to pee in a cup, and that's just life.
I am seeing.
And that's a true story, and that's a COVID true story, and that's also just life. So, don't let the setbacks get you down.
Yeah. If you gotta pee, do it.
Also that, I can say that as someone who's had a kidney stone. Another thing that I think can be helpful is tracking progress. So if you keep a journal, if you do some sort of reflective practice, if you keep a notebook and you make lists.
Or a planner.
You're a big planner gal.
I am.
Yeah,
and
maybe,
there's a section.
Talk a little bit about that.
Oh, I would love to. Yeah. So I have a passion planner, not sponsored, but should be. And I literally love it so much. I have it literally right here.
Oh,
and
boy.
Actually, this one started in, I want to say September, and some of them start in January. Mm-hmm. And this in it has a whole section for reflection before the month of January, where you can plot out your goals and how you want to achieve them and the steps you're going to take and the game changers of the day and the week and the month. And then in every week it has a box that says good things that happened this week, and that's where I like to track my progress.
Very cool.
And my little wins.
There's a great way to track small progress and also to have that list.
List it up. Cross it off.
Checking it off. All right. Well, anything else we want to wrap up on New Year resolutions?
I don't think so. I feel like we covered some good grounds. If there's further questions, hit us up on the gram or in the comments.
Yeah, tell us what yours are. If you're setting one, tell us what it is. Tell us
your words.
How you think. Yeah, your words, your own tips, if you have them, for keeping resolutions and that sort of thing. So, yeah.
It's time for our rapid fire sweet and spicy questions. And I'm pretty excited today. I think I'm ready to feel the heat.
Oh, okay.
I don't know about you. So basically, we're gonna run through a couple of these, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what we get out.
Maybe today we just do a couple spices.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, switching it up.
I'm ready. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah. I'm gonna ask you first.
Okay. I'm nervous.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
Oh, man. I know this one.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, I have to clarify. I've been vegan now for about 1.5 years. And so I have...
And vegetarian for...
like 5 or 6 years before that.
Yeah.
Okay, so just know my ways have changed. But, I once lost a bet in a class, and I had to eat a live moth.
Oh, I do remember this now.
Yeah, it was so dusty.
Which, that's not the first thing I would think of. But
it was mine because I will always remember that and I will always be grossed out by it. And also the substitute teacher that day saw me do it. Yeah, of course we were messing around in that class. This boy caught the moth. I bet him that he couldn't catch it. He did. I then had to eat it. And then I was coughing on dust and I had to ask the sub if I could go drink water from the water fountain.
Oh my God.
So I think about that probably once a month. It's just so regrettable.
Dang, that's one way to motivate that kid. Why did you even make the bet?
Well, that moth was really bugging us. Okay. It was, and I wanted it to be caught and probably, sent out into the world, and instead I don't back down. And so I had to do it.
Balls to the wall, folks. You heard it here first.
Yeah. Oof. Next question.
That's
sweet or spicy?
It's intense. Yeah, I'll stay on the spicy theme.
Would you rather be called unattractive, unfriendly, or unfunny?
Man, I think probably I could go with unattractive or unfunny without being too bothered.
Good for you.
Look at the shock on her face. Okay, here's why.
Why?
I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and I am very much okay with that. I don't know. I feel like social media makes that a pretty easy thing to come by. Follow me or don't. If I'm bringing value, great. And I'm glad you're here and a part of this. If you don't find that to be the case, then I hope you're happy doing your own thing in your own community and start your own podcast or your own club or whatever it might be. But so, yeah, if someone's like, wow, she is not attractive or she's just not that funny, then cool. I'm not your brand, and that's on you. But unfriendly, would really have an issue with.
Oh my gosh.
I really try to be friendly. I mean, that is just in me.
Yeah.
I have always been that way. I've always been super, super inclusive because I think I had a really bad history of being bullied in middle school. And I know what it's like to be that kid who's on the outside and awkward and like doesn't have close friends and a lot of people are mean to you. And I lived that life.
Yeah.
And lucky for me, it was only 3 years and it was not all of high school too. It was a middle school thing. But because of that, I feel like I really try to make a huge effort to be really friendly. Maybe even to a fault sometimes. I really try to put myself out there in that way. So that would be really disappointing if somebody felt that way about me. And I'd honestly want to know, like, why they felt that way and what I could do differently because I would want to fix it for sure.
So we know the nice sister.
Do you want to share yours?
Oh my, unfunny. I could not be called that. I would take either of the other ones.
Wow. Okay. See, we're so different here.
I know. If someone said I was unfriendly, I would probably tell them off. I mean, not terribly, but I would be like, cool, that's so insightful, thank you. And that would not be friendly. I've always been that way, though.
You have I actually like look up to that in some kind of way.
Honored.
I guess that's tough. Yeah, because if you're genuinely being unfriendly, I mean, I personally would want to know. If you're not,
yeah,
and it's just somebody kind of saying that, then that's another thing. Or if they're just trying to start drama or whatever.
Yeah, it's the drama for me.
Right. But unfunny.
That really would hurt me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it actually to my core, because I feel like I was put on this earth to bring laughter to people.
And you do.
And so, thank you. And so that would be like basically telling me I was purposeless and unattractive. I mean, I just would know that was wrong.
Wow. Y'all are really starting to see where we differ on these things.
I'm coming out to play.
Oh, hilarious.
That's me.
Love it, love it. Well, I think that'll do for today's round of sweet and spicy. All right, today we are reviewing
Synergy raw kombucha in the flavor of Trilogy.
So what does the packaging say? We like to talk a little bit about the brand and
yeah, so we have a message from the founder.
Okay, we love that.
GT Dave, as some of you might know.
This is a GT's.
Yes. In 1995, began bottling kombucha as a teenager in my parents' kitchen after witnessing my mother consume it religiously during her battle with breast cancer. Her experience inspired my purpose to introduce the sacred brew to the U.S. in its purest, most potent form for all those seeking better health. Over 2 decades later, my mission remains stronger than ever to offer the best kombucha you can find.
Nice. GT's is an LA brand, so wanted to start off with one in your home city.
Love it. Yeah, it's really pretty packaging. I like it has this little whoop, whoop, kind of fun label with a bunch of colors.
Yeah, GT's is a kombucha staple, that's for sure. I know it's the first kombucha I ever tried. They're kind of an OG in the kombucha game. They've been not handcrafting, but they've been bottling since 1995, so.
And one of the first things I did with kombucha, the very first time I had it, was shake it because.
Oh my gosh.
Because it kind of has this sediment that forms at the bottom.
Right.
And this, if I would have read the bottle, says gently swirl gently.
Okay.
Which is good to note. I obviously had never tried kombucha, and so I shook it and exploded everywhere, and it was a mess.
So we love the rainbow label. It's fun branding. It definitely sticks out at you. What is Trilogy, the flavor?
Trilogy is the flavor. Mm-hmm.
Does it say, though, like, what that is?
History of Trilogy, born 2001. Just talks about 3 flavorful ingredients, which are GT's kombucha culture, black tea, green tea, kiwi juice, raspberry juice, lemon juice, fresh pressed ginger juice, and 100% pure love. So that is more than 3 ingredients, but...
Okay. And what's the sugar content on this one like?
Per serving, which is 1 bottle, which is, this is a big size bottle.
Yeah, that's a decent size.
It is 12 grams of sugar.
Okay. We like to kind of have that on the record. Great. Well, let's give Trilogy a go.
Let's do it. Ooh, listen to that pop.
Pop, pop.
And it is bubbling beautifully at the top here. All right. Pour myself a little bit. Here you are.
We're in the same room today. If you couldn't tell, we've got our little LA girl in Denver.
Oh, it smells good.
Okay, good call. It smells citrus to me. Citrus forward.
Fruity.
Very crisp.
Did you taste it?
No. Oh. In the scent.
Yeah.
All right, ready for the taste test?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, really? We could.
Tangy is kind of the first word that comes to my mind.
Very tangy. Very bright.
Yeah, this is a really happy one.
It's a cute color. It's kind of peachy. Kind of looks like fruit punch in person. Or strawberry lemonade.
Decent amount of bubbles. Definitely does have some sediment, which is natural with kombucha. A little bit in every pour, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say sharp is a really good description.
Yeah, this one kind of cuts.
Very kombucha when you think of kombucha. It just very much is like that flavor that people either love
or hate.
This would be like, I would give this to someone and be like, tell me what you think.
Yeah, so one thing we like to do is rate our favorites. And we do that on the SCOBY scale. If you are not familiar, SCOBY is the acronym for Symbiotic Culture of Bacteria and Yeast, formed after the completion of unique fermentation process of lactic acid bacteria and acetic acid bacteria and yeast to form several sour foods and beverages such as kombucha and kimchi.
Wow.
So it's, the fermentation process. A lot of people, if you make your own kombucha, somebody gives you a SCOBY. It's almost like a bread starter.
So we invented this scale. This is not something that kombucha is actually rated on. We invented this for our own purposes to kind of keep track of how much we love it.
Yeah. Trilogy, I really do like Trilogy. If you're going for a sharp, fruit, heavy, very refreshing, would love this on a summer day.
Summer vibes.
So, and then, I love the branding, kind of taking all of that into account. It's definitely very eye-catching. I feel like a lot of people start with GTs when they're at the store because they do have such bright, fun, colorful packaging. So based on, the flavor profile and the branding, and this has been actually a go-to for me, one of my favorites. I'm going to go 4 on this.
I'm going to go 3. I tend to like a more floral over fruity taste with my kombucha.
Okay.
And I feel like this one is very fruity and kind of ginger forward. So I like it, but it wouldn't be my go-to bottle.
And that is a good point. There is a ginger bite to this. I think that is why it's so sharp, and that can be a flavor people love or hate. All right. Synergy Raw Kombucha, Trilogy, GTs. All right, thanks for listening to this episode of Kombuchat. Special thanks to Gold Threads. This has been an On the Run media production. Please make sure to like, review, comment, and subscribe on iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Let us know your favorite parts of this episode in the comments and on the gram. Feel free to answer our spicy questions from this episode on the gram. We'd love to hear what those look like for you. What are your weird edible items? What would be the biggest insult to you? We want to know. So hit us up, tell us that and more. Anything you want to hear on upcoming episodes. I'm at Blonde the Run.
At Olivia
is Olivia. And we'll see you next time, combies.
Bye.